Whoa. It's that wonderful time again where we all come together. Welcome back, Crypto's News community. We're here and we're going to be talking about what's going on in cryptocurrency again. I invite you to hit that like button so other people can find the stream, find good content in the future to keep us all on top of what's going on here. I think there are very few movements going on in the world that really have a lot of cohesion. I think there's a lot of divisiveness, a lot of polarity. But I think as people become more aware of what's going on here, started by Bitcoin, there's very little polarity in the good that can be seen with this technology. I guess if you want to pretend that there's polarity based off what the corporate media wants us to think, what the politicians want us to think, then yeah, there might be polarity there. But I think more and more people are, I hate again to use that word, waking up to the fact that we do need something different. And it's not a president that's going to save us. It might have just been Satoshi and what's going on here. So it's really empowering to be part of this movement with you guys, something I think very impactful for humanity. And if it's just, again, as I've always said, just a matter of time, not a matter of if, but a matter of when. So thanks for being along for the ride with me, guys. A special thank you to you, Josh, to Number of Things for tuning in here to the show. And I also want to give an apology because yesterday I was talking about the Coinbase wallet and how there was this new feature that allowed for different scam airdrops or scan tokens to be blacklisted, and you would know that it's some sort of scam, or it would just not show up in your wallet. And I gave an example of an airdrop token, and by mistake, I mentioned mithril ore when I actually meant to say Monero. So yeah, I'm sure many of you remember Monero showing up on your Ether scans, not necessarily mithril ore. And thanks to mithril ore for pointing that out. Turns out they were actually watching this show. I had a complete just misspeak there since they both started with the letter M, but I did want to offer that correction as we start off today. So let's go ahead and start off by looking at the prices. As you can see, things have bounded up really, really nicely. It's been basically just a straight spike recently. You're seeing that with Bitcoin. It hit lows here of about $22,800 before spiking up. It went to where it's at right now, basically $23,731, up 2.9%. You have Ethereum also up 3.8%, so a little bit more than Bitcoin, up to 1,646. The next major resistance is basically between here and 1660. So getting really ready to test those levels. I'm hearing there's not much resistance here for Bitcoin until $25,000. You have folks like Peter Brandt out there, who is a longtime Forex he's been into Forex and trading since like 1974, been remarking a lot on Bitcoin, talking about double fulcrums on Twitter a few days ago and how things were looking quite bullish for Bitcoin to surpass these levels up to 25,000. I think that's getting confirmed a bit more so with the price action we're seeing, just the strength. So yeah, there's Bitcoin right here, and this was Ethereum. I'm looking at it here on gmx.io. Ethereum just continues to push higher here on the 15-minute chart. And yeah, as I expected, volatility would definitely kick up. Ethereum did see lows of $1,557. Real quick little wick there before jumping back up. And this is all due to what's going on with the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve issued their statement for today after 2 days of meetings. They are going to be raising interest rates, or they rather did announce an interest rate rise from between 4.5% to 4.75%, which brings it up 25 basis points, which is pretty much in line with what everyone was predicting, what prediction markets were predicting. The FedWatch tool that I've been showing you guys was predicting. So not too much of a surprise. The surprise, I think, would have been if it was 50 basis points, again, like we'd seen previously, or 75 basis points. That could have shaken up the markets to the downside. But really what we got today was confirmation that it was going to be 25 basis points, like everybody expected. So the markets is just pretty much ready to party. And of course, the committee, the Federal Reserve Committee, has not really changed too much language. They've said the same thing. They anticipate that they're going to need more future rate hikes for more extended of a duration before they feel confident that inflation is going to be at this 2% level, and that the rate hikes that they've done have had significant impact to get it back to a 2% rate that they like to see things at. As far as inflation, they are talking about disinflation again, which is funny to me, that we're basically seeing disinflation, which is kind of a confusing term, right? Because you would think disinflation means that there's negative inflation, prices are coming down, but that's not the case. When they say disinflation, they mean that the rate of inflation is not at the same pace as it used to be. And speaking of that word pace, they have changed it. Pace meaning whether they're going to be hiking 50 basis points, 25 basis points. This is exemplified here in this sentence here, which has changed some of the language, and that's pretty much what a lot of people look at here. Traders looking at is language, specific words that are used by the Fed. So instead of using the word pace, they switched that over to extent, basically signifying that they're going to be continuing 25 basis point hikes for their next rate hikes, including next month in March. So they had written here on their press release, in determining the extent of future increases in the target range, the committee will take into account the cumulative tightening of monetary policy, the lags with which monetary policy affects economic activity and inflation. Again, those 12 to 18 months it could take before you see the rate hike, and the effects that it has on the economy actually take place. And they said an economic and financial development. So right there in that first segment, you can see in determining the extent of future increases in the target range rather than the pace of increases in the future target range, meaning that it's going to be 25 basis points. And that's why you're seeing here in the probabilities for the March 22nd meeting that it's basically going to be another 25 basis point hike, which I think is positive. That's why you're seeing the market spike. It's not going to be some sort of drastic change. It's not going to go up. 82.5% chance that it does that right now based on the CME FedWatch tool. Markets don't like uncertainty, so this gives us a little bit more certainty about that. But of course, anything can change. For now, it does seem like the trajectory is up and up. So I guess a little bit of good news there for the bulls. And as I said on Twitter, I think the bears are getting a little bit more extinct. They're out there getting murdered. You would think they're getting poached, but they're actually getting murdered. It's a dangerous time to be a bear, to be shorting around these sorts of things and to be buying a lot of the FUD, because it just does not look good for them right now, because as the Fed has pointed out, disinflationary means that it's trending down toward 2% as far as inflation rate here in the United States, where they want to see it so that they can maximize full employment and so on. But they've seemingly had the effect that they wanted so far. You're seeing layoffs continue across different companies I do believe that we are going to have to wait, however, as this week continues for earnings from some of the big tech giants. So that could probably play into some of the some of the volatility that we're seeing, because most correlated as far as different indexes is Bitcoin to the NASDAQ, to the tech stocks. So if you see the NASDAQ take a hit, I think that could short term impact the Bitcoin price. That's pretty much what we're looking at with the prices right now. As what is today? I don't know, Wednesday. It's Wednesday, February 1st. Happy February, guys. Survived another day. It's never a given. Anyway, the block has reported on Coinbase NFT. So this was actually said on Twitter. Coinbase NFT is pausing NFT drops on their platform for now. This came after an artist called Jessica Yatrovsky said that her upcoming collection would no longer be released on Coinbase's marketplace. Coinbase then did say that to clear confusion, we're pausing drops for now to focus on other areas within Coinbase NFT, but we're not shutting down the Coinbase NFT marketplace. There has been all sorts of bad news in relation to some of the metrics surrounding Coinbase NFT. It has not been popular at all compared to what you see with OpenSea, what you see with GameStop's NFT marketplace. Check out the volume for Coinbase over the last 7 days. It's a measly $60,189 here, according to Dune Analytics. 0.1 volume over the last 24 hours. So some might say that Coinbase NFT has been a failure. I think it would make sense for Coinbase to leverage their staff and their finances, especially if we're still in this bear market or wherever, or they're still not super profitable, leverage that resource elsewhere rather than NFT platforms. I can see why they would want to get involved, and it would make sense that Coinbase NFT exists, but I don't know that their approach so far has really worked out. So maybe they're taking time to regroup here, back to the whiteboard. Anyway, some good news, however, for Coinbase, because one of the class action lawsuits against them has been dismissed. This was a class action lawsuit that was titled, the case was Underwood versus Coinbase Global in the Southern District of New York. It even named the CEO, Brian Armstrong, as a defendant. There is a judge named Paul Engelmeyer who has rejected the claims in the class action, which was saying that Coinbase was selling unregistered securities. I bought unregistered securities, should have been regulated, and also failed to register as a broker-dealer. But this has now been tossed out. I think this is quite a big win here for Coinbase. They can use this in other cases. I'm sure they have a litany of different cases. There's probably a website that keeps track of how many lawsuits Coinbase and other exchanges similar to them are undergoing. But this is a nice victory, I would say, for them at this time. I was going to show you this actually a little bit later, but well, I'll show it to you now. But there's a good article here that had come out, released by Juan Galt, so someone I deeply respect in the Bitcoin community. We're not always seeing eye to eye when it comes to certain things like Ethereum or the exact future of these things or the trajectory for them. But when it comes to Bitcoin, I think that very few can speak highly as well to Bitcoin, its history and its ethos than Juan Galt. So props to him. He has a newsletter where on his website, juangalt.com, where he writes occasionally. He also has a YouTube channel, but he did a pretty interesting one that was released today on crypto commodities versus crypto securities. That's the title. I think it's actually a really, really boring title compared to a pretty engaging article. It kept me going the whole time. I'll just read the beginning section here because I think it relates a lot to what got me started and some of my friends early on in crypto and their own ideas about how this movement should go with cryptocurrency. These kind of cypherpunk ideals aligned a lot with voluntarism or libertarianism. So he talks about, this idea of free economies that we believe in oftentimes when talking about those ideas. Anarcho-capitalism and regulation. It's kind of hard to put those two things in mind and agree that they should work together. But I think he clarified some of the some of that confusion, here in this first section, but there's plenty more to look into here. It's not the best in relation to speaking so well about Ethereum, of course, but there's good stuff here as well in relation to Ponzi schemes, thinking about Bitcoin. So you should check it out and subscribe to the newsletter. But let me read the first section here. The libertarian perspective and its biases. As a lifelong libertarian, the topic of regulation is one I have a natural aversion to. My intuition is to resist it, and my preference for a long time has been to keep the state's grubby hands off crypto. Sadly, as the years go by, I've seen such a proliferation of fraud. This follows what we were talking about yesterday with Celsius. Just completely complete fraud. I've seen such a proliferation of fraud and ridiculousness in this industry that today I have to hesitate and reevaluate. Wow, big words here from a libertarian. From dumb Ponzi schemes using the Bitcoin brand to scam retail via centralized low-tech websites to tens of thousands of straight scams, be they Ethereum tokens or blockchain forks, whose nature, intentionally or not, is that of concentrating power in the hands of founders from later investors, often with few, if any, products, services, or solutions to back up that value. And then he points here at this tweet as an example from Coinfessions. So Coinfessions, if you don't know, if you don't frequent crypto Twitter, is an account that people, individuals, whoever, entities send a message to with some sort of confession related to cryptocurrency that they want to reveal, but they might want to keep their anonymity. So Coinfessions publishes these confessions through their Twitter page. A fascinating actual idea. But so here's a Coinfessions tweet. I am a serial rug puller, scammer in the Solana ecosystem, rugging 19 projects for over $1 million. Again, there are those who really have no morals here. They're willing to steal. They're willing to use anonymity, create different projects, and and use cryptocurrency, even if they're shitting on its name, in order to enrich themselves, play really, really dirty. Ridiculous. 19 projects. Surely they continue. This article explores the topic of crypto regulation, the more relevant proposed frameworks, what I think would make sense, and what impact they might have, if any at all. As a matter of principle, I have to remind my fellow anarcho-capitalists and libertarians that fraud is a violation of the non-aggression principle. That's a big thing when it comes to anarcho-capitalism or anarchy. Although there are different sects of anarchy, for the most part, people like to focus on the bomb throwing kind, or the kind that think that change needs to happen by, being aggressive. Usually it's not that at all. It's actually quite the opposite. It's the non-aggression principle. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. So libertarians, fraud is a violation of the non-aggression principle. You are violating other people. You are being aggressive toward them. And while the state has a monopoly on violence, its processes are the lowest risk path to any kind of justice or retribution, despite being as dysfunctional, corrupt, or inefficient as they often are. I point this out not because libertarians do not know this, but because as an intellectual movement, we seem to have neglected the issue of fraud. While the greats have talked about fraud, as far as I know, they did not have any shitcoins and the internet to contend with. We do. Years ago, I warned that if crypto failed to regulate its excesses, the feds would come and do it for us. Bitcoin advocates warned endlessly about the risks of crypto Ponzi-nomic schemes for well over a decade, to no avail. Well, the US government now has a very clear path to regulate crypto, given the tens of billions of dollars wasted and stolen by the likes of FTX and other centralized finance. People are pissed off. They want blood. That bloodlust is a red carpet for politicians, and they are waltzing on in. The question is, what regulatory structure will they erect, and which should they, if any? And will it make any difference, given that fraud is already illegal? Well, we should see if the SEC and these laws have any real weight to them with FTX and scam Bankman-Fried. If the U.S. government will prosecute SBF on what looks like very obvious fraud, despite being part of their elite. If SBF does not do hard time, then we will, again, get confirmation that the regulatory and legal systems are totally pay to play. My mentor, Ugly Old Goat, sure seems to think the whole government is pay to play and corrupt to the core, starting with the FBI and the SEC. He actually served a decade in prison for wire fraud after his gold-backed venture went under with the help of the feds decades ago. So it may very well be the case that all this regulatory talk is doomed to fail anyway. Nevertheless, this article explores the topic from a good faith perspective, addressing the empirical realities and attempting to establish a reasonable moral framework, which is functional government that is not entirely doomed, should be able to approach. which a functional government that is not entirely doomed should be able to approach. For the sake of brevity, we are going to ignore the KYC and surveillance layer of regulatory capture, which he had written about earlier this month. So I'm going to put a link to this down below so you can check it out. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there is plenty more that I think would fascinate you within this article. You should totally check out for yourself. Moving forward here, we had spoken about Sam Bankman-Fried, and how there was a move to try to get him to not be able, in order to be able to not allow him to contact members or employees, previous employees of Alameda Research or FTX, because it looked like he had been contacting not maybe just one witness, but at least a witness and the current CEO of FTX to try to make reparations, restore goodwill via email, and so on. Very weird, trying to maybe shift the case in his direction or something like that by manipulating them in some sort of way. So there was an order to try to bar him from communicating with these kinds of individuals. It has now been passed by Lewis Kaplan, the judge, recent judge. I think like 2 weeks ago we had talked about, he became the judge of this case. They did add the condition that he shall not contact or communicate with current or former employees of FTX or Alameda, other than immediate family members, except in the presence of counsel, unless the government or court exempts an individual from this rule. They also have banned his use of any encrypted or ephemeral call or messaging application, including but not limited to Signal. So the reason for this is because it had been shown that he had employees of FTX speak to each other using these kinds of messaging applications, even going so far as asking them to make sure that they have their messages on automatically to destruct, so to erase themselves after a certain time period. For him, it looked like it was 30 days, but this is making it a lot more difficult for courts to find evidence, as you would imagine, of the fraud and intention and so on, which is likely why he's done this. Even when he had written the emails we covered 2 days ago to it wasn't yesterday, I believe it was 2 days ago, where he had written to the witnesses and John Ray. He asked for perhaps phone calls or in-person meetings, perhaps, so there wouldn't be anything in written evidence for the courts to have evidence to put up. So it makes sense that they're trying to be a little bit more careful with this. And his attorney, however, is trying to make it the case that, and this is going to be seen on February 7th, so in about 6 days, that Sam Bankman-Fried is allowed to move assets and money of FTX and Alameda. He's been barred from doing so, but they're trying to get it so he can. Why he wants to be able to do that. But anyway, the attorney said this in a statement: requiring Mr. Bankman-Fried to include counsel in every communication in regards to today's order with a former or current FTX employee would place an unnecessary strain on his resources and prejudice his ability to defend his case. Many of these individuals are Mr. Bankman's friends. Imposing a blanket restriction on his contact with them would remove an important source of personal support. Oh, the tears. Oh, the tears. Sounds like he at least has a good lawyer trying to pick at whatever he can. That's my thoughts on that. Anyway, we'll see what comes up on February 7th, but I imagine they're not going to allow him to be able to move funds, but that's neither here nor there. So I wanted to point this out. I'm getting a lot of emails, not just this one, but from different companies of different video games like Stray and other ones, but they're not actually the real company. I want to point this scam out, especially if you're someone who is a content creator, you're in crypto, or maybe you have some sort of newsletter yourself or something like that. You might be seeing this yourself, but different promotions here that look appealing, but they're likely scams set up to basically install backdoor malware exploits into your devices. So you can see how attractive it might be, how enticing it might be to want to engage with this. It says YouTube promo Axie Infinity 2023, which is a legitimate project that's been around for quite an amount of time. They have recently launched a new version in December 2022, which has a new mini game, but basically it's a whole ecosystem of different games that are linked to these NFT like characters that have different limbs and body parts and whatever, and you can like have a trading card game and you can earn this token that's for governance. Anyway, totally legitimate project. So I received this. I thought it might be legitimate as well. It said, "Hello there. I am marketing manager of Axie Infinity play to earn game." I'm like, okay, weird grammar. But maybe they're from Vietnam. Maybe there's some sort of language barrier there. They're giving somebody a shot. Maybe this is legitimate. "We would like to offer you cooperation in advertising of our new updates. We are offering $1,500 for each 30 seconds long integration into your videos. If you consider this is not enough, you can offer us another amount. We will decide if it is suitable for us." So far, it looks like what a real partnership might start off with one of these companies, because I've seen so many of them. "If we agree on terms of promotion after first video released, we can agree on 5 or 10 videos. Please let us know if you are interested. We will send you a more detailed action plan. With best regards, commercial manager of Axie Infinity." So I thought that was weird right there. I'm just sharing with you kind of the way I'm thinking about this when I read some of these emails. Commercial manager, there's no name there. There's no individual that would have recourse here. It's just some sort of title. And then if you look at the email, obviously you probably noticed crypto manager 15 at online.ua. That's not some sort of official Axie Infinity website. It just looks very generic. The language is all over the place. They didn't mention me specifically, whether it's crypto or Omar. Not that that necessarily helps, but already looks fishy. So I asked for more information just to see if this is some sort of legitimate scam. And this is what I got back in response. "Hello, thank you for responding to our offer. Please download promotional materials, link provided below, and choose the banner you like most. We can make payment in both cryptocurrency, ETH, BNB, BTC, Sol, USDT, TRX, LTC, or any bank transfer. If your cryptocurrency is not in the list, please let us know. Axie Infinity team will give you promotional code which you can use to earn passive income from every person who uses your code to buy anything in Axie Marketplace." So far, this looks like what you might see again from another company. "You can find your code in information Word document and our white paper." Wait, it starts getting weird here. So I can find my referral code in your white paper? Why would it be there? Okay, language issue. "To get your first 50% payment, we will include a contract with you." Okay, "You will have to sign in and attach it with the following letter. The remaining 50% you will get after you start first uploaded video with the advertising content. Also, we make a referral link for you. Details will be explained in contract below." Okay, so there is a code already that exists for me in your white paper, but you're going to make a referral link for me afterwards. All right, but it also makes sense, right? You give me 50% up front, you're saying. So I'm not getting scammed. They're not asking me for money. And then 50, or to promote them for free, right? And 50% after. That sounds pretty reasonable, that section of it. Then they wrote, "If you're willing to work with us, please read the contract, sign it, and send it to us with this letter attached. Attach your desired method of payment." So contracts were not very popular early on with cryptocurrency. When I started making content back in like 2016, it was a lot more free. People weren't trying to use NDAs, but that slowly started to become a thing. More regulators paying attention, more scammers, more people needing to protect themselves down the line or whatever. So, okay, contract makes sense. "We also have prepared useful materials for you. Archive, specialized graphics, general graphics, logo, raw assets, Twitch graphics." Okay, cool. You're going to make my job a little bit easier rather than having to find your promotional material myself if I do go ahead and go forward with this. "Link to download archive with all promotional materials." Okay, fishy. Dropbox and a Google Drive. Usually you just attach this sort of stuff. And then there's an archive password. Why would you? Okay, I don't know. That already feels weird. Usually, I mean, who puts password on archives like this anymore, unless you're trying to really conceal something? I don't know. It just seems kind of fishy to me already. Never seen something like that as far as down there. So I did open this up and screenshot it for you guys. But if you get something like this, if you do get some sort of zip file, I urge you not to do that. Even if you do check it with an antivirus, it still could have viruses inside. I did check it for an antivirus, by the way, and it came out clean. Google had checked it when it was linked there, as you can see, and it's clean. But this is what you see inside. So you see this, these sections right here, Axie Infinity files. It's some sort of folder, a link to some sort of HTML. This that's titled Axie Infinity Presentation, how to send payment details. voice over text agreement. So this is the contract that would that I'm supposed to fill out, sign, and fill in information like how I want to get paid, and I will send that to them. But if you look at the file extension here, docx, which is a Microsoft Word thing, right? Like they said they had linked, .lnk. .lnk is some sort of shortcut for logos, from my understanding. But those can contain malicious entities with them. It can have malware that can start running scripts inside of your computer. It's come out. So that probably very malicious. I did not click that. I did not run that. And again, no reason it shouldn't just be a pure docx file or PDF or something like that. And then like a normal logo. So they include normal stuff like their logo, a JPEG file, so you would get confused and think this is legitimate still. Then if you open up that folder at the top, Axie Infinity files, and you look at the contents of that, I think this is weird because it is a Vietnamese company. I guess they could have hired somebody from Russia, but these look like Russian characters down here in file extensions, which I'm not familiar with. Don't know why these would be included. There are potential vulnerabilities that can happen through CSS files as well that I've heard about. And most incriminating is check out this second file right here. It's an application, a .exe. Again, Axie Infinity presentation, how to send payment details, voice over text agreement, an exe file. An exe file is just a blatant virus. Let's call it what it is. It's an application that's going to be running in your computer and start doing malicious stuff. It's not going to open up some sort of PowerPoint and be like, check out Axie Infinity and this is what you can earn. No, that would immediately, I don't know, it would look like nothing. You double click it and nothing would happen. There would be something running in the background and that's it. You're basically screwed. Next time you try to log into MetaMask, they will keylog you. They will probably be screen capturing. They could be doing anything at this point with your computer. And you would be like, oh, I got hacked. I have no idea how it happened. Oh, I'm always so careful. But by being careless in just one little regard, it could happen in some sly way sometimes. So I hadn't seen this particular attempt at malware and phishing before, so I did want to share it with you guys. And hopefully you guys get it out there and share it as well, because I don't think many people are aware of it. I hadn't heard about this one before, but it is important to know how to read these things, become aware of them, and protect yourselves, as I often try to do with you guys, to make sure that you're safe. I always vet projects like this, of course, to as much as I can before I do some sort of promotion. Haven't done any promotion on the new channel. It's hard, obviously, since I don't make any money off of these videos, really very little from YouTube now that we're monetized. I don't have an insane amount of views yet. I don't have any sponsors right now. I get some thanks to you guys from YouTube sponsorship and the Patreon thing, which helps motivate me, of course, since it's not super easy to be following this and doing this and spending so much time doing it. But I do think it's an investment in you guys. Usually things come back when you give it out and put it out there in the universe and you're consistent. I think over time it will grow and it will bring good deals eventually that I think will be symbiotic for everyone. I'll get to share with you guys a really cool thing that you'll want to engage with. I'll get to make a few bucks at some point, and the company will get the exposure that they need if they deserve it. But it's obviously a little bit early for this one for me when I'm just receiving these phishing things. Anyway, stay safe out there. So many different kinds of scams like this. I'll continue to look out for you guys, and thank you for doing so much for me. I'm super indebted to you for that. And I will finish here. Yes, I do sleep still, Darren, on the 8 Sleep mattress. Any leaks? No leaks at all, actually, Darren. I love the bed. It's one of the best investments I ever made during any bull market, honestly. You can adjust the cold, the warmth, and it automatically adjusts. As for those of you guys who don't know, really, really soft. And just fantastic bed. Not really many complaints. No problems, really. Sometimes the application desyncs from the Wi-Fi, but that's an easy fix. I woke up cold today because I had desynced, but that's just because it's far from the router. And then I just woke up, fixed it, and got back to bed. Really love the analytics it gives as well. Anyway, I'll leave you guys here with a quote of the day. by Stephen Furtick, as we do here on the show. The reason we struggle with insecurity is because we compare our behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. I like how they framed that. Anyway, take care, everyone. Much love and stay cryptic. Peace.